3 signs that your dismissive avoidant partner is simply not into you. In this video, I'm going to share with you those 3 signs. The idea that sometimes it's very hard to understand an avoidance behavior, especially if we are anxious because we see things completely at the opposite end of the spectrum. I used to be dismissive avoidant, so I will explain a little bit more the psychology of dismissive avoidant. Bear with me, I'll explain everything after the jingle.
IGetMyXback.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
Yes, it's confusing because from the outside, it's the same. You can perceive behavior from an avoidant partner as being the same as someone who's not into you. So they could be distant, cold, they struggle with display of affection. Sometimes they will say like, no, I don't want to hold your hands in public. Sometimes they could be critical and they'll be focusing on some shortcomings in your personality or traits of character. And obviously, they would avoid talking about sensitive topics. They perceive, when I say for them, that they perceive scary to them. It's not necessarily something that necessarily, if you look and ask people around, that is controversial topics, but for them it's difficult. For example, like why they make a certain decision, their relationship to their parent, that would be very difficult for them to disclose those information. But it's not about being into you or not into you, and we discuss in this video the signs, the clear signs. Also, I forgot to mention that at the end of the video I will share with you 3 things you can tell them to assess whether you're wasting your time or not, because I'm making this video to help you understand people's behavior and also help you make better relationship decisions. The first one is you've been together for less than a year. And this phase in every single relationship, we call it sometimes honeymoon phase or the infatuation stage. It is where an avoidant can overcome their fear of commitment because everything is new. We don't talk about projects, we don't talk about commitment at this stage, and they feel that it's going to be easy, right? Because there's no tomorrow in a way. You don't ask too much of them, you don't need too much of them, and for them, because of the high dose of dopamine and all these chemicals that we have in our brain when we are in love at the beginning, the chemicals of passion, they will also be very engaged in the relationship. And very often, avoidant tend to, not all, tend to love bomb their partners. And we might feel like, okay, oh, well, he's really into me. And this, after a while, could disappear. And it's not about being an avoidant or not, it's just that when we transition from infatuation stage or passionate stage to compassionate, when we shift from we are flirt to we are committed relationship, this is also when you can see whether the person is into you or not. It has nothing to do with being an avoidant. Second sign that they are not into you, they keep you apart from their friends. So they're actively trying to keep the relationship secret. And that has nothing to do with being an avoidant. So they will be okay to meet your friends or your family, but when it comes to for you to meet their friends, to meet their family, they'll be very, very protective of this social circle. I don't want you to meet them. We only talk about football. They're not interesting. They'll say things about their friends, so you don't sort of push to meet with them. And if that's the case, it's probably the sign that they're not really into you. They don't really consider the relationship. So you need to understand that being an avoidant, it's how you behave in the relationship, but it's not necessarily how you consider the relationship. So if your partner doesn't consider the relationship or doesn't consider you to some extent, they wouldn't want to mix this relationship with other areas in their life. An avoidant person considers the relationship. It's just that he or she has different ways to engage and has insecurities and fears with regards to commitment, but it has nothing to do with the interest they have towards you. So it's very important. And one very simple sign that you can assess is whether they're happy for you to meet with their friends. Third one, they don't make any plans. So at the beginning, again, infatuation stage, sometimes love bombing, sometimes very proactive, and now they don't make the effort anymore. It used to be 50-50, you would take the initiative, they would take the initiative, or maybe they would take the initiative more than you. But right now, it's been a year or two, and you're the only one always bringing things up. You're the only one always like pulling the relationship. and you feel that there's no response, he's very much or she's very much reactive rather than proactive, that's a sign that, again, the interest is not there, the investment is not there. And that has nothing to do with being an avoidant. It could be perceived as, oh yeah, they're avoidant, so therefore they don't make any plans. But if someone is avoidant, they would want to make plans. They would want to see you. It's just a question of the clash between avoidant and anxious is because we have a different definition of closeness. Or in a way, when you're an avoidant, you like your own time, you like your space, you like to be on your own at some stage. But it has nothing to do with, I want to be with you. So it's very, very important to understand whether, okay, do they want to see me? It's not about, it's finding the balance, obviously. If you expect your partner who's avoidant to text you every single hour, to call you every single day, to hug you every single minute when you're together, it's going to be very hard. But if you understand that what they like is having a bit of us time, a bit of me time, and connecting and having going out with friends and finding the balance. In a way, if you have an anxious attachment style and you want to be more secure, you can learn from an avoidant how they develop that self-reliance, that sense of independence, which I think is extremely important to balance a relationship, to make a relationship successful and healthy. So, a few tips. Rather than confronting, because sometimes we want to confronting our ex, our partner, I would argue and I would advise you to take your distance and assess the interest. As I discussed in point 2 and 3, it's really about interest. It has nothing to do with attachment. It's interest. That's what matters. And if you don't make any effort, see their reaction. Whether they feel okay, like you don't make any plans and they're happy with that, therefore they don't feel the need to see you, they don't feel the need to be with you, that's a sign that you're wasting your time. And again, it's really about investment in a way. Sometimes I use accounting terms to explain things related to psychology, but it really makes sense. It's when you invest your time, your emotional bandwidth, your attention, your intentions, and you don't have anything in return, then that's the time where you need to pull the plug and decide that that person is not right for you. The problem is that some people, they are sort of, because of what we call the sunk cost fallacy, because they invested so much in the relationship that they don't want to pull the plug and leave the relationship. So it's very important to assess at any point in time, what am I gaining from this relationship? I don't care about what you had in the past. What matters is what you gain right now. So, things you could say to trigger a conversation and gain clarity. I've noticed specific behavior. You put whatever you want. Is everything okay? Open-ended question. They probably say yes and ignore you. They probably say no and ignore you. We don't know. So now I'll explain the things you could say to clarify a little bit the situation with your partner. I've noticed, and you put any behavior you like, is everything okay? This is just to trigger a conversation. It's not threatening, it's not judgmental. You're just like putting the ball in their court. We have something special too, but things are not that simple. You don't mention that it's because of them, you don't mention that it's because of you. You state the fact that we have something special. I value this. It seems that you don't, basically. And the last one is, I feel I'm stepping on your toes. Let me know if there's anything I need to do. So on this one, it's about, okay, you put your ego on the side for a bit and you try to trigger the conversation around them, and they will, I don't know if they will complain, but it's really about like, I want to make it work. And it seems that, no, let's collaborate together, because very often in a relationship, people end up being enemies where we need to be teammates. So these are sort of 3 things that you can test with your partner to assess their interest, to assess whether you're wasting your time or not. Because dating an avoidant is not necessarily a bad idea. And there's a lot of comments on my videos saying like, you should never ever date an avoidant, you're wasting your time. Well, I feel a bit bad because I used to be avoidant. This is really important. If your job is to work at being more secure, and studies have shown that if one of the 2 partners is secure, the relationship, the quality of the relationship would be similar to a relationship where the two of you are secure. You have to also assess that you're not the only one seeking to change. So because of my work, because of some experiences in my life, I had to work at being more secure. I had to be more aware of my insecurity. And that's the biggest problem that avoidants might have, is that sometimes they're not aware, which is the case sometimes for anxious people. They're not aware that it's called anxious attachment style, and that's how they react, and that's why they react. So it's very important to assess whether that person is happy with how things are and how their fear of commitment is not sort of impacting their life, and they're happy with their life as it is. If that's the case, you're wasting your time. You need to really be with someone who's in that mindset of, okay, we're different, we're going to work it together, and I am responsible for my own growth, you are responsible for your own growth, and we need to meet there. But where both of us are working at being more secure, are trying to understand the other, are being more empathetic. I'm writing a book about relationship, and the whole thing is really about how we can learn to not only be on our partners, to put ourselves in our partner's shoes, but looking at life the way they see life. And when we achieve this, it's so much easier because we're not anymore confronting, we're not anymore fighting. We understand the other's point of view, and therefore it's not about judgment, it's not about ego. We understand each other's weaknesses and strengths, and we adapt accordingly. Not by changing the person we are, but adapting the dynamic. And it's really, when you look at it and when you analyze, the success in a relationship is really about tweaking few criteria, tweaking few things to make it like smooth and respectable and grow and more secure, rather than drifting apart slowly because we don't discuss and we feel he doesn't understand me, she doesn't understand me, or we don't respect each other anymore. Any other questions, let me know. Let me know if actually avoidance is a waste of time. And I will see you next time. Take care.
For a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.